It's all quite all right.
I actually think if he had hit here, so
You actually did what?
with
Does he need to go to the nurse? Why does this stuff not play? Okay. Is this stuff working at all? Hello and welcome to session 9. Reading historical fiction. I didn't change it, but it's not even working. I don't know what's going on. Again, what you'll often see now is that in the morning letter, I'll talk about what we're talking about. Right? I'll also have that character or the title there to help you out. So you don't need to ask what session it is. You don't need to ask what things are about. You just need to pay attention. Again, I would like to encourage you, if you find that writing down stuff makes you miss other things, this does get recorded. It is there for you to look at. I do project things throughout the lesson, or throughout the session. So if you need some time to kind of reflect and write it then, take a few minutes, you can. So I'm kind of leaving it up to you to know what is working for you best. Okay. So there's a bird and there's a worm. Completely different points of view. Right, one's in the sky, one's in the ground. One of them meets the other one occasionally. But probably not that kind of bird. Probably doesn't waste its time on worms. Probably goes after bigger prey. What I want you to think about is this: if you were to pretend to be a bird and describe what you think this school looks like, or if you were to pretend to be a worm and describe what this school looks like, what would the differences be? Would there be any differences from the point of view of a bird and the point of view of a worm? Talk to your club about that right now, please. Pay attention, everyone's talking about this, ladies and gentlemen.
Everybody landed in a bird because it's the super bird.
No, from your serious? 3, 2, 1. So hopefully what you realize is that yes, a bird's point of view and a worm's point of view is very, very different. I wonder why this stuff is never working. Hold on a second. One day I'm going to figure this out. I promise you. I think this is going to be it now. I think this is it. It might be super loud too. So let's turn it down a little bit.
It's your reading tip of the day.
Okay, so it's all about minor characters today. A lot of times we get obsessed with the main character and what they're thinking and talking about and doing. But one thing that we can do to truly improve our interpretations, to truly improve this idea of theme and what this story is about, is to really pay attention, to really reread, and to look at the perspective of minor characters and try and revise what your interpretation is based on that. How does it change your interpretation? Right? All that good stuff. So, how do we do that? Well, I'm going to reread that part of chapter 9, Why Are You Lying?, when Anne-Marie was talking with Uncle Heinrich. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how I would think and look about the perspective of Uncle Heinrich. Because a lot of times if we think about those questions, whose eyes, whose thoughts, whose voice, it's normally going to be the main character, right? But when a minor character talks, we do really need to pay attention and listen. And we have to be very, very active in trying to figure out what's going on in their mind and why they're doing stuff, because the author probably isn't going to give us that insight into their thoughts. Okay, so really thinking about the perspective of minor characters takes a lot of mental work. Okay, for you to really think about this stuff. So she wandered, Anne-Marie wandered to the barn where Uncle Heinrich was milking Blossom. He was kneeling on the straw-covered floor beside the cow, his shoulder pressed against her heavy side, his strong tanned hands rhythmically urging her milk into the spotless bucket. The god of thunder sat alertly poised nearby, watching. Blossom looked up at Anne-Marie with big brown eyes and moved her wrinkled mouth like an old woman adjusting false teeth. Anne-Marie leaned against the ancient splintery wood of the barn wall and listened to the sharp rattling sound of the streams of milk as they hit the sides of the bucket. Uncle Heinrich glanced over at her and smiled without pausing in the rhythm of milking. He didn't say anything. If I have to think about what is Uncle Heinrich and what's going on, he's probably super stressed out. He probably has a lot of information in his head. He's probably taking this time to really think about it. And he may not be really thinking about Anne-Marie much at this time. That's what I would be thinking is probably going on. Like he's super busy at this point, and there's big things happening in his life. Through the barn windows, the pinkish light of sunset fell in irregular shapes upon the stacked hay. Flecks of dust and straw floated there in the light. Uncle Heinrich, Anne-Marie said suddenly, her voice cold, you are lying to me. You and Mama both. His strong hands continued, deftly pressing like a pulse against the cow. The steady streams of milk still came. He looked at her again, his deep blue eyes kind and questioning. You are angry, he said. Think about it. I wonder if if he feels this coming. If he's like, oh man, she's on to me. She's on to this. She knows something more is coming out. And probably at this point, he's probably thinking, am I going to tell her? Am I going to include her in on this? And that's a huge decision that he's going to have to make because he's putting her in danger in his head. So he loves her and he's thinking about all this stuff. So that's what I think is going on in his head at this point. Yes, Mama has never lied to me before, never. But I know there is no great Aunt Bertie, never once. In all the stories I've heard and all the old pictures I've seen, has there been a great Aunt Bertie? Uncle Heinrich sighed. I think with that sigh, I think he's made the decision. I think he's consciously made the decision, okay, she knows too much really as it is. She's old enough. I'm going to let her in on some of what's happening. That's what I think that sigh meant. And because I don't think he wants to. He wants to protect her, right? He wants her to be innocent and be away from this stuff. But he knows right now in this instant that he has to do something. At last, he turned to Anne-Marie as he wiped his own hands with the cloth. How brave are you, little Anne-Marie? He asked suddenly. So I think here it's just he's trying to prepare her. He's like, he wants her to know that what's going to happen is going to be important and that she's going to have to really pay attention and kind of grasp the things. So again, what am I doing? I'm guessing. There is nothing in here that's 100% fact. I'm thinking about myself as a father, as a human being, and what I would be thinking about and going through. Okay, so we use all of these different ways to go, what is that minor character saying? What are they thinking? So now I'm going to ask you to do the same. So if you are currently excusing yourself from the lesson, you will need to find a way to do this work that I'm about to ask everyone else out to do. Okay, so if you have chosen not to sit here because you have other stuff going on, the expectation is still you're doing the learning at some point, and you are doing this work at this point too. So you will need to figure out how you're going to communicate that with me. She was startled and dismayed. It was a question she did not want to be asked. When she asked it of herself, she didn't like her own answer. Not very, she confessed, looking at the floor of the barn. What do you think might be happening with Uncle Heinrich at this point? Talk to someone with this.
So she's not who is no, it's not real. She's brave enough to say
All right, 3, 2, 1. Tall Uncle Heinrich knelt before her, so that his face was level with hers. Behind him, Blossom lowered her head, grasped a mouthful of hay in her mouth, and drew it in with her tongue. I think that is not true, Uncle Heinrich said. I think you are like your mama and like your papa and like me, frightened but determined. And if the time came to be brave, I am quite sure you would be very, very brave. What is he doing? Talk.
Making the memory great. So that she can be
So when they well, I think she's making more brave, she's thought she's pretty enough to say that she's not so brave. Then
You all invited Lily into your group for now because she doesn't have anybody talking. All right, 3, 2, 1. But, he added, it is much easier to be brave if you do not know everything. And so your mama does not know everything. Neither do I. We know only what we need to know. Do you understand what I'm saying? He asked, looking into her eyes. For the last time, what do you think? What is his perspective? What is he thinking? Why is he doing this? Talk.
I think he's trying to repress it. If she knows too much, she knows ruin everything and they to take away everything.
3, 2, 1. Lastly, we've been talking about a theme, and we're thinking of one of these ideas, one of these interpretations that we have about this book is that war makes kids grow up fast. How might this perspective of Uncle Heinrich that we've studied in this chapter, how might this add to that interpretation? How might this support it? Does it change it in any way? How might this idea now that we've taken, or this perspective of Uncle Heinrich, how might that add, or how might that change this idea of kids are forced to grow up early during war? Talk that out with your club.
Because
you're ready. When are you ready?
So, I think that look, that if she ends up knowing that there's not an outbreak,
because those people that will maybe like there's Jesus.
3, 2, 1. Thank you. All right, so there's a lot that we do as readers. When we're reading historical fiction, these are some of those things. Those 5 W's, the fitting the pieces together, perspectives, timelines, interpretations, themes. Now we're adding minor characters. Remember, part of this learning point that I want to specifically show to you again and again and again is this. Reread. Not reread to figure something out because you're struggling with it, but you finished the book. Let's reread it. Let's go to different chapters and reread it again with a different interpretation in mind. Let's do the work, okay, that's being required. Somebody was talking to me the other day about how in schools now, like this whole idea of, oh, I need to have fun when I'm learning. Everything needs to be fun, 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 fun. If I'm not playing a game, I'm not using an app, I don't want to do it. Well, sometimes the most important things in life are hard. They're rigorous. Boring, that's on you as a student and a person. If you find something boring, you can unbore yourself. You can find reasons to be more excited about things. But the work is going to be hard. And you need to find it within yourself to have perseverance and to have grit to do that work. Because it can be difficult. All right? And it's not going to be flashy. And it's not going to be a TV show. And it's not going to be Netflix. But it's going to be important. And it's going to change your life. And these books will stay with you and make you a different person. And so do that work. Focus on that stuff. All right, do the work that we're asking you to do within your reading notebook. Okay? We talk about expectations. That is an expectation. Using your notebook to do the work that we're talking about. We should see interpretations. We should see timelines. We should see the 5 W's. We should see all of this stuff. Minor characters and their perspectives. All of this. This is big, heavy work that you are able to do. You just need to give yourself an opportunity to do it. All right, exercise of today is at the end. I want you specifically to do this work today. So by the end, 1 piece of paper per person. You can talk about it and work with it in your book club. That might be a really good idea. I will be meeting with every book club today, or try to. I won't promise that I take that back. I'm going to try and get to every book club today. If I don't get to do today, I will talk with you tomorrow. Find one minor character, talk about their perspective and how it's different or the same as the main character. And if you want to go for it,
Go for it.
and talk about how it affects the interpretation and extend yourself, do that, please. Okay? All right, let's get to work. I'll set the timer. See how long it takes you to get done.